on a story on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Kanu in talks with parties to work on an alliance. Let me just read a paragraph or two. Kanu has initiated discussions with Raila Odinga's ODM party to consider the possibility of forming an alliance ahead of the 2022 general election. Other parties, the Independence Party is eyeing our Wiper Democratic Party, Amani National Congress, as well as Jubilee MPs. And Tiati MP William Kamket has actually been quoted as saying, we're in deep discussion with ODM, Wiper, ANC, and a section of the Jubilee Party that will not, okay, that's interesting, that will not be fielding a presidential candidate in 2022. I need to get a reaction from Honorable Wanga and Honorable Wahome. Let me start with you, Honorable Wanga. Yeah. Deep discussions. Well, what are deep discussions?
Well, I must say these deep discussions, I think there is an intention to have deep discussions, but no. but you know, Kanu probably has an intention to have deep discussions with ODM and other parties. And of course, the reason every political party exists is to capture power. And therefore, during this interim period between elections, parties organize themselves in a way that they can actually capture power. So I cannot rule out intention, but I can tell you as a member of the Central Management Committee of ODM that we have not yet, we are not briefed on this matter. But if there is intention, we cannot run away if Kanu has intention to have conversation. So I think our party will be open to have conversation, not only with Kanu, with everybody. Just like we had the handshake and the hug shake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. I think anything that can bring, progress and unity and coexistence is welcome. But I can tell you that from the inside, we have not yet had this deep. There can only be deep would have meant that there has been, we have gone very, very far. But I can tell you the intention is of course welcome, but that they have been hard or that they are deep or however deep or wide they are, that is not yet.
Let me bring in Honorable Home. Thank you. That's actually very interesting. To get a quote here that we are in discussion with a section of the Jubilee Party that will not be fielding a presidential candidate, a section. How do you define that?
That will not be fielding.
Yes, so are there two Jubilees?
Let me first say that true political parties are the vehicles through which you capture state power. Noting that, then any political party that is not ambitious enough to get to the state power then should actually stop existing. Therefore, I am not aware of a section of Jubilees, maybe those who do not have the interest of capturing state power. Because for 2022, every other political party that is serious would want to sit in the place of Uhuru and the Honorable William Ruto, His Excellency. So I think that Jubilee is focused. Right now, we have also been urged to stop too much politicking. And I agree, because you can imagine that we have not even finished 1 year and we have now started the next, road to 2022. I think it is not okay. What we need to concentrate on, and I have said, I'm in agreement with His Excellency the President and his deputy, that we need to discuss more about how now to bring development, how to unite Kenya. And I'm happy with the handshake and the hug. I think what is remaining now are the kisses, because you see that now will consummate this whole discussion, so that we can now agree we are uniting Kenyans genuinely. But you see also politicians have the tendency of not being very genuine. I think Kanu is trying to find its place, and it knows that the ODM is actually a strong political party, and it is. They are uncomfortable with some of the people in Jubilee, because in Jubilee they know we already have a presidential candidate.
Oh,
so
you
do? We have a presidential candidate. If you don't have, it would be unfortunate. I think we have a presidential candidate, but that doesn't mean we start politicking now. We do have a president. Maybe we will have even more. But more so far, we have a presidential
There have been concerns that over the last couple of months,
His Excellency the Deputy,
for example, the Deputy has met delegations from different areas. There are those who say that falls under politicking. We saw the Deputy President just concluding, I think, a 3-day tour of Coast, where he did not directly speak about 2022, but you could hear some Coast leaders saying...
But if you are the Deputy President for 2 terms, what else would you aspire to be? He would obviously aspire to be the next president. And obviously, you know, you can do alliances, like the way Nick Sarat and Kamket are doing with ODM. We also doing alliances with ODM for purposes of political stability. I don't know, it could also result that the next Nini alliance will be ODM, Jubilee now taking power. That's not unusual in this politics. I mean, we have seen Raila Odinga with Kibaki and some other bigger teams. Mudavadi is the one who kind of went out of Nini. But generally,
it's the nature of politics.
We cannot dismiss anybody. Let's say we can't dismiss, but people need to be more strategic in terms of moving forward. I think it will be a very difficult task to assume that the Jubilee will abandon our cause.
That's a very weighty last statement. Joy, come in.
When you watch political machinations, you understand that the thirst for power can make very strange bedfellows. I mean, when you are doing your earlier segment, the world is right now talking about the handshake of the century, the Trump and King Jong-un one. Because whenever you're looking to make a mark, to leave a legacy, you have to look for something that will shake the foundations. And when I look at what Kanu is doing, Kanu used to be the big boy. Everybody was trying to work towards achieving what Kanu had achieved. Once Kanu was unseated, after multi-party politics came in, they have lost that position, and they're trying very desperately to regain it. It is very difficult to divorce, therefore, that aspiration of gaining back that political power from what you're seeing now. Like, if somebody can go ahead and make a statement of how they're having deep discussions, and we are being told here that there are no deep discussions, it shows you that there is an aspiration. There is the thirst for making a mark. Will they be able to do it? Only time will tell. But the thing that makes me a bit uncomfortable is the same script, different cast, the musical chairs that we see. I wish we would come as a society to a place where we stop with the machinations. You know, once people are in office, let them stay in office. If they do this under the table discussions, let it remain under the table until 2021, when now we want to see let's see the alignments then. Because these intrigues, what they do, they just keep Kenyans on tenterhooks and keep people in a perpetual state of excitement, which is, in my opinion, not only not necessary, it's counterproductive. Because let me just state in terms of, let me put it hypothetically. So what if they go ahead and form an alliance? Now we are still in 2018. 2022 is still far. There's enough time to deconstruct, demolish, destroy. By the time 2022 comes, all the energy will be for nothing. So our politicians need to learn some stealth and some tact. So that some of these things, they look like you're exciting your base, but they actually, you show your hand too early on the table, you lose the gamble.
Can fizzle out.
But Wahiga, you know that politics in this country, just like Joy is saying, the real alliances will happen 3 months to election.
3 months.
I mean, they will happen 3 months. That is when you will see whether it was Kibaki 10, you know, Kibaki 202, Kibaki Tosha. It was 2 months to elections. It was very, very near, and that is when everybody came together and said, this is the direction where we are going. Or whether you see even in the 2013 elections, Jubilee forming. It was very last minute. It was very, very last minute. So all these conversations, like I said, there can be intention to have this or the other, but the real thing, and even this Coast thing, you're saying that, oh, we are raiding Coast, oh, Siji, who is saying what? People want to just, you know, keep the politics going, but the real thing is really going to happen very, very near to elections. So right now, write off no one, you know, really don't bank too much on anyone, you know, just keep your cards out there. Let's serve our constituents. the politics will really
sort themselves
I've seen a picture here actually with Cecily. She happens to be in at Harvard.
Yes,
with
Harvard
the first
University.
lady. So
yeah, she's in the
then
States.
it means she's really in the
in
the US. So she's and on an appointment probably that was already made earlier.
Planned
So I
earlier.
think just wanted to note that because I saw her in that
And you can
picture.
see what the first lady is doing is relevant to her ministry. So
Yeah,
it
so
is.
she's-
Yeah.
So at least she's off the hook on that one. Let me
Yeah.
get your
But I
last
think-
word on
I
this.
think what is important is the fact that we are all now able to have decent and modest conversations, you know, and I hope that we can move those conversations, you know, across the board, genuinely, so that we don't continue hurting Kenyans and prejudice the spirit of uniting the country and healing. I think we need to do more joint meetings that are free of poisonous political statements, so that if we go to Homa Bay or go to Kandara, then we are able to show Kenyans, look, this is time to work. That time.
Realignment. But before that, I want to get a comment from each of my guests about a story on page 8 of the Standard. EACC detectives raid former governors' homes in operation. Now, we've been hearing, and there's been some sort of rumors that EACC could be going for some, and they've talked about governors, former governors as well, sitting governors, and this could be the start of that. Former Nandi Governor Cleopas Lagat was among people whose homes were raided by anti-graft agency detectives. The officers who conducted a major swoop in Nandi County on Monday descended on the former governor's 3 mansions in Nandi, Kapseret, and Elgonview in Eldoret. They are said to have carried away phones, title deeds, bank account details, logbooks, and personal files, among other documents. I want to get a brief comment from each of my guests about this, and of course what this means in terms of, so if there are questions about things that happened 4 or 5 years ago, could we see a case where the EACC now starts going back in time? Because sometimes Kenyans feel that once a year has passed since allegations were made, then that's the end of that particular matter. Honorable Wahome, let me start with you.
Okay, there is no time limit for criminal prosecution for offences you committed, because even when we appeal, when we delete or a law, the law is still left with some provisions for you being prosecuted under whatever actions you committed, if that was an illegal activity. So I don't think a year, 2, 3 years will prevent prosecution. In fact, the governors who have left the office, who are still serving, and just like any other person, if you look at these investigations at NYS, it can go even to 10 years behind. Of course, when you reach the court, you have to really have a very big standard of proof why there was that delay, because also justice delayed is justice kind of denied. But that normally applies more so when you have reached the court, not before, because you may have not reached the court because you are also interfering with investigations, or there were people protecting you, and then so therefore there was no way investigations could be completed. So therefore there is no bar to prosecution under criminal.
So no former governor should sit safe
Nobody
if there were
should
questions.
sit safe, thinking because now I'm in term 2. In fact, now it's easier for the prosecution in terms of political
Goodwill.
But also, you see, the governors are serving their last term, and their influence is going to start dwindling. And they might also start, and I'm not having any governor in mind, it's possibility of looting, because you may not be, you are not going to be in the next office, whichever way, because the Constitution doesn't allow. So we also have to be very careful about how this particular budget of this term for those who were re-elected is being managed.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Joy, come in.
One of the things that I would also want to see is the same fervor we are generating with NYS is generated for these smaller scandals, because one of the criticisms of devolution is that we devolved plus corruption. And you find that in the county it's even worse, because there is not the public eye may not be looking at what is happening in the county, so you can get away with a lot of misdeeds. But I like what Honorable Alice said, because that's a correct position. There's no limit as to how far back we can investigate criminal offenses, and it doesn't matter. There's no statute of limitation for prosecuting criminal offenses. The thing that I would like to see is what we talked about earlier, having systems in place that ensure that we are bringing good cases to court, so that we don't have all this furor of investigations. So the ex-governor is the former governor is being investigated. 20 of his then sitting and some sitting now MCAs are also being investigated, and then nothing comes out of it. But not just prosecutions. We want to see recovery. We want to see that money coming back. Because when you follow the paper trail, if somebody has taken 20 million and then they are prosecuted, some of these fines don't go beyond 2 million. Okay, fine, so you pay the fine and you do a few years. I mean, even me, I would do 2 years in jail to have an 18 million payday that will sort my children out for a little while. We have to make corruption expensive for the people who are found culpable. So follow the money, get the money back. Remember, some of these people are very clever in how they hide the money. It's in trusts, it's in shares, it's in bonds, it's in offshore accounts. Let us become more savvy about how this paper trail is going. And not only that, I am glad that we're not just looking at the big picture cases. When we look at these small cases, that's where most of the people cut their teeth in some of these small cases. If we start seeing more examples of people losing it all because of corruption cases, then there might be the deterrent factor. But the last thing that I also want to put in is the way also as a criminal justice system that we handle corruption matters should have the same vim and vigor that we give to other matters. One of the problems we've had is because of the length of time. Like, for example, I was telling someone, even we was a magistrate sitting there, and I've got all these people who are coming, the charges are being read until midnight. Unachoka, before you even start. We have to find a way of breaking it down to bite-sized pieces so the cases move faster. You're able to prove your case easier, because when we make them so complicated, I mean, if somebody is coming for stealing, it's just 2 people standing in the dock, the evidence is direct, conviction is easy to secure. When it's made too complex, it becomes more difficult to prove, and the person you're expecting to internalize all this is